This will be a very long one. This will be a very long one, but we're ready. We're ready. Husband deletes wife for denying sex during her period. By Rotten Mango. I have no idea. However, this was recommended, and it sounds incredibly outlandish. Bro was not thinking with his dick. He was possessed by it. Anyways, we'll see where this leads to.
Bada bing, bada boo.
SJ is going to be the next to die. That is the most likely, reasonable conclusion that everybody in his life is coming to. He's gonna be next. He's gonna be the next one to die. Especially right now, because he's just wandering around this empty, strong, disinfectant, chemical-scented hallways of the morgue. Everybody that knows SJ is growing concerned. They're getting nervous. Somebody needs to stay with him. Hurry, I'm worried he's gonna die too. I'm anxious. This is a direct quote.
This is a very confusing for the start. Can we start at the beginning? What is going on? Okay. My brain needs to focus a little.
Quote from one of his family members. Wherever SJ goes, there is an anxious family member sitting next to him. If he's in the hallway outside the room, there is a family member sitting right next to him, also exhausted, leaned back against the chair and staring into the abyss of the bright office backroom lighting morgue hallway. And it's very understandable that SJ is distraught. SJ's wife is laying on a steel table in the room right behind him, right next.
Okay, interesting. That's the art of storytelling. She's preparing us for something big.
Next to all of his family members, and they're about to cut her open to see how she was killed inside.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. We're gonna see how that goes. Very interesting. Right? In just a little bit, it'll all make sense. Yeah, I hope so. So we have an autopsy coming up.
Of their house, inside of their newlywed home after they had been married for only 3 months. She is killed in the middle of the night, and because SJ is drunk and passed out on the couch, he has no clue what happened to his wife inside the master bedroom, the primary bedroom. It could have been an intruder. It could have been a medical anomaly. I mean, that's highly unlikely.
Wait, he's drunk. Interesting. Okay. Well, we already know it's him that did it, right? We already know it's him.
Likely, but we don't know. SJ is sitting next to his wife's sister. So this is his sister-in-law. I mean, she's also grieving. She would more so be in a state of shock, staring at the hallway in front of them. She's probably in more pain about losing her sister than SJ is about losing his wife. They've only been together for like a year and a half, but still, the whole family is worried for SJ. He probably feels all this guilt of not having been in the room with her, but outside on the couch, leaving for work in the morning, thinking she's asleep in the bedroom when in reality, she was dead in the bedroom. He's probably hit the hardest, at least right now. I mean, it's his wife after all. And then SJ turns to his sister-in-law. So this is the deceased sister, you know?
Yeah.
The wife's sister. And she just distinctly remembers how odd this was. He turns to her in the hallway, in the morgue, when they're performing this autopsy. And he states, you know, I'm someone with really strong sexual desires.
What?
She's tilting her head. She's looking at him like this is unsolicited, unprompted.
Interesting. I wonder.
Information that she doesn't even know if she heard this correctly. What do you mean? I'm a person with strong desires, you know? But your sister would never let me touch her. She's sitting there trying to understand what he's telling her. Her sister is dead, most likely murdered, and being autopsied in the room right there.
That's she's essentially getting like cut open, and he's sitting there like basically, you know, I'm quite a horny fella, you know? And she wasn't really interested in that. But I'm a quite horny fella.
And her sister's husband is telling her that he has a lot of needs. What the hell is going on right now?
I'm gonna avoid the music here because I might get cooked if I'm not careful.
Today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the National Network to End Domestic Violence, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to eradicate all partner relationship, workplace, and stalking violence. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team. We'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at
Too bad these domestic violence things don't really care about the homies getting beaten. That's unfortunately a sad part.
RottenMangoPodcast.com. A few disclaimers for this case. There are mentions of SA and a lot of mentions of pregnancy loss, so please watch with caution. This case also takes place in South Korea. We had our wonderful Korean translators help us with this case. However, if anything ever gets lost in translation, just please let us know in the comments. And with that being said, let's get started. How do you know Satan's not your neighbor? I think it's a good question. Okay, perhaps one that is never asked and only ever answered in typically a life-threatening manner. There is this tradition, though, in South Korea, where if you live in a big apartment building, every now and then you will get a ring on your doorbell. You look at the intercom screen, because a lot of these apartments will have a screen even if someone's right outside your door. Or sometimes you look through the tiny little peephole and you have one eye open, and you'll usually see one or two people that you have never seen in your entire life standing outside your apartment door very awkwardly. You don't know how they got access into the building, let alone
I'd be getting something. Like, that'd be concerning. Like, imagine, like, random day, your doorbell rings, right? You go up to the door, and there's just two random people standing there. Like, I even get uncomfortable when these, Jehovah Witnesses randomly on a Sunday pull up and, like, stand in front of the door, and I'm like, bro, how about no? Put the fries in the bag, I don't care. Leave.
why are they standing at your door? You don't know. But you look down and they're holding a paper bag with stripes. It looks festive. It looks like a gift bag. You look back up and they're now staring directly into the peephole with this awkward, polite half smile. They know you're on the other side staring at them. You know that they know. And so now you've got to open the door. So that's what you do. And they let you know, hi, we're the new neighbors upstairs. We just moved in. We wanted to bring you rice cakes.
I am German. I do not understand. I do not comprehend. That would make me incredibly uncomfortable. Like, I don't know you. Why you're giving me shit? Like, it's like, I don't know you. I don't want to know you. I don't, I feel like this is really weird and uncomfortable. Again, different culture, right? So that makes sense. But like, that sounds just like so off-putting. That sounds like, no, you can keep them. That's okay. You can keep them.
The tradition lives on. It's not as big as it used to be, I will say. The apartment buildings in Korea have gotten much larger. It would just not be fiscally responsible to buy rice cakes for all 132 neighbors of the building.
Imagine if it was a important, right? Something that you had to do. And like, then you had to go to every apartment, knock, say, hi, we're the new neighbors. As like, the one at the top of the building is like, bro, why are you buying me this? I don't know half of these people here. It's like, if I were to live in South Korea and I were to live in one of these apartment buildings, right? I can guarantee you, I would probably know the same people, the people on maybe the floor above me, maybe the floor below me, but that's about it, bro. That's about it. I'm like, who are you exactly? I'd open it. It's just nice, you know? You always want to keep your neighbors close to you. I don't. And I don't like my neighbors. If shit goes down, they'd be the first few people who could help your family. I take them a while to reach your place. Yeah, I guess. I felt that common in Asian culture. I do not know. I'm the new neighbor. Oh, okay, I'll forget you by noon. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing, right? I'll forget. Who?
But in smaller communities, people have stopped doing it too. I mean, it's a shame because the tradition isn't just about meeting your neighbors and being cute and being polite and bringing them rice cakes. It's to drive out evil spirits. That's the symbolism behind the rice cakes. If Satan were to live next door to you, you drive them out the building like a mass exorcism via a red bean rice cake. That's the meaning. Satan notoriously doesn't like rice cakes. Who would have known? I mean, obviously, it's an exaggeration of a tradition.
I'm gonna buy some rice cakes now! Maybe it works! Maybe it works. I'm gonna do it.
Tradition, but you get what I mean. There is a meaning behind it. And so that's why December 2024, Haeyoung and her husband SJ, they are distributing rice cakes to everyone in their building. They just got married. Neighbors in the building are actually kind of stunned because usually it's high schoolers who will come distribute the rice cakes because their parents are forcing them to do it, or it's elderly couples. But you never get two young couples who willingly, on their own accord, decide that they're gonna pass out rice cakes. It's a tradition that's dying in the younger generations, so it's actually very cute. Haeyoung and her new husband are doing this, and if you ask anybody about Haeyoung, if you ask anybody about SJ, they're gonna say, if anyone's gonna pass out rice cakes to their neighbors, it's gonna be them. Haeyoung and SJ got married December 2024. One of Haeyoung's friends had stood up during their wedding to make this toast, and this is verbatim.
Interesting. Actual footage. That's kind of cool. We don't really get that often. Okay. Not bad.
Finally, a man worthy, a man with a big heart to embrace our Haeyoung. Seeing the way you look at Haeyoung, the way you talk to her, your tone of voice, the way you take care of her so attentively, I think as friends we realized maybe it's okay to let Haeyoung get married now. I hope you guys live happily. Maybe it has to do with the fact that they're 34 when they get married. It just feels like they were waiting for the right person. And because they're more established, they know what they want in life, they find the partner that fits perfectly. Haeyoung's older sister, Mimi, this is a pseudonym,
I feel like that's kind of the hot tip, but I don't think people, as they get older, know what they want. Kinda not. Kinda not, because if they did, wouldn't have that many divorces overall.
She's very happy because she says, I mean, it was the wedding that Haeyoung always wanted. It was her dream day. It's her dream wedding venue. It's her dream wedding dress. She was just so happy. I was just so happy. And her husband, SJ, is calling our parents.
Simply put, they were the perfect couple. Simply put, okay? Simply put, they were the perfect couple. And since they were the perfect couple, we're probably going to get some insights into the relationship, and it wasn't as perfect as it looked from the outside. I'm going to see that.
Mom and dad, and it's just like one of those wholesome relationships. They kind of stand as an example for maybe why people should wait until their 30s to get married, because it feels like that's the time that you find your partner. And everything is just kind of working out. They're both incredibly polite. They're diligent with work. They're very traditional when it comes to following customs. Example, the whole rice cake thing. Haeyoung's friends say, okay, sometimes it's awkward when you're hanging out with couples and then a wife or a husband snaps at the other party. And now the whole entire table is uncomfortable and it just feels like, ooh, someone's ego's getting hurt. Someone's going to get into a fight. It's a whole thing. But they say with SJ, he would just make it less awkward even for the whole friend group. He would just talk back lovingly, even when she's snappy, and say things like, see, are you guys seeing this? She has me totally wrapped around her finger. These are real messages between the couple. Haeyoung is asking about a gift that SJ had given her. And she says, what is this? Thank you, heart. He says, it's from my heart emoji. I love you, my woman. I love you too, heart emoji. I miss you already. Me too. Like it's...
Well, that didn't go quite so well as we know now, huh? That didn't go quite... Interesting. In this case, yeah, they did really seem like the perfect couple. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, the perfect couples, the most perfect couples seem to have the worst endings. And I don't only mean like death or anything like that, right? Betrayal, anything like that.
Just they text like they're still in the honeymoon phase. It's like they're obsessed with each other. And then 2 months into being what people would call, maybe even jinx, the perfect marriage.
So like February 2025?
February 19th, Haeyoung texts SJ, I think divorce is the answer. Let's get divorce papers in the morning when we wake up. Exactly a
wait. Diabolical. Hold up.
February 19th, Haeyoung texts SJ, I think divorce is...
What the fuck? Ain't no way. That's weird. A green flag on the surface, that is. Yep. Okay, what the fuck? That was out of left field. Okay. And that is where the snapping arc begins. I'm assuming. Interesting. That's crazy. What did he do? What did she do? I'm curious.
Is the answer. Let's get divorce papers in the morning when we wake up. Exactly a month later, so now 3 months into their marriage, they are still not divorced, and Haeyoung's mom gets a phone call from SJ. Hello? She just hears him crying on the other end, and this is again, verbatim. Hello? What's going on? Why? What happened to Haeyoung? He's not responding. He's just dry heaving, sobbing. Talk to me. Tell me what happened. Another man clearly takes the phone, and his voice, I mean, this is a stranger, at least to Hae-young's mom. She's never heard this man's voice before in her life. Ma'am? Ma'am? What happened to my Hae-young? What's going on? I'm a police officer. Your daughter passed away between early yesterday morning and this afternoon. What? What is my son-in-law doing right now? Can I talk to him? He's completely out of it right now, but you guys will need to discuss having Hae-young's body moved to a morgue to potentially be autopsied. Hae-young's mom hears SJ in the background, and he's just like asking in a small voice, what do I do? What do I do? And as she's listening to SJ and this man have a conversation, she starts coming down. A lot of that earlier hysteria starts slipping away because this is not happening right now. I mean, none of this is real. And she's not disassociating, at least not in this moment. She thinks this whole thing is ridiculous. She's thinking, they're getting so fucking good at this.
Like a prank?
I mean, she's heard
Rage bait. I'm sorry.
all of the
That's better. Rage bait. Before there was rage bait, that was mildly infuriating. She basically just thought they were pranking her. Like, they were just, like, making fun of her. But that was not the truth. Not gonna lie, I feel like... Is it really because of her... I feel like the title is a lot... might be not what I think it is. I don't think that the period was the cause of why he went nuts. I think there was a lot of other stuff.
news about it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was this basically like he... So she wanted a divorce, he didn't, but he was very obsessed with her, and this obsession led him to essentially, right? We have these stories where men kill their wives out of obsession, right? I wonder.
And she has to go from her hometown to Seoul to see Hae-young, and she says, quote, I thought it was a voice phishing scam, really. I didn't shed a single tear until I got to Seoul because I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
People are getting calls that their elderly parents have been kidnapped and the hostage taker needs $500 to set them free, which is an insanely little amount of money for, I don't know, your mother-in-law dying. And so a lot of people will pay it. Or older parents are posting $9,000 bail amounts for their 20-something-year-old college-age child who somehow landed themselves in jail, except they didn't. They're actually just at a frat party and they're not picking up their phone. Others
Interesting.
are a bit more unsettling. Parents will tuck their 10-year-old kid into bed for the night, and an hour later they get a phone call that their kid has been kidnapped. And naturally, they will rush into the room to check up on their kid, who is blissfully unaware and asleep in this little bed, but you can hear their exact screams through the phone. The child is asleep, you can see that with your own 2 eyes, but you can also hear someone who sounds exactly like your child screaming through the phone. But with all these phone calls, there is a pattern. Everybody wants money. That's it, money. There was not a single mention of money in the phone call that Hae-young's mom received. Hae-young's older sister, Mimi, and her mom, they start rushing.
Interesting. So basically, the mom believes at first that it was really just right. They just essentially just believe it was a prank call from some stranger.
To the apartment that Hae-young had just moved in with her husband, the newlywed apartment where they just passed out rice cakes. And it's not a scam. Her daughter Hae-young is dead, and nobody knows why. I mean, it doesn't make sense. She's 34 years old, she's healthy, she has no prior medical conditions, she has no ailments, she just dies in her sleep in her bed. What about SJ? He says he was sleeping outside on the couch outside of their bed.
Also, autopsy, right? Autopsy. That means that whatever he did was not visible from the outside. That means the only thing that is really an option is poisoning her. In some way, shape, or form. Because there's nothing on the outside. Otherwise, they wouldn't necessarily need to do an autopsy.
Bedroom, and then left for work in the morning. He had no clue what happened. Just 3 months into their marriage, he's a widower. The most important role at a Korean funeral is the chief mourner. This is the person closest to the deceased. They will wear the white armbands, and this is the one that everyone sends their condolences to. The chief mourner has to greet guests. They have to lead all of these various ceremonies, and they just have to make all the hard decisions. In Korea, it's a huge emotional burden. Everyone is throwing their sadness at you. And you have to make sure that everything is done perfectly to make sure that your loved one passes on.
And the one that is probably supposed to do is the husband. But the husband is also the one who did the deletion. So I'm interested. I'm assuming at least.
to the other side peacefully. So everything has to be in order, and you have to almost put your own sadness to the side. I mean, it's such a laborious position that a lot of funeral homes will have a small resting room for the chief mourner, because it's like a multi-day affair. It's just all day long. People will go to funerals and there's food served at funerals. I guess kind of like a wake in America. And people will bow and you have to stand right next to the casket as people are bowing and saying their goodbyes. It's just emotionally draining. People will watch.
Bro, let's say he didn't actually. Let's say, okay. Is cricket just ethnicity ranking out here? Is bro making a tier list? That's crazy work. Interesting. I would not be able to do that. See, hypothetically, if I had a wife and she died, right, out of nowhere, right, like actually not involved, right, I wake up the next morning, she's next to me, and I had to do, I would not be able to do this. I would lock myself away for like months. I would just lock myself away for possibly months, right? I just like lock myself away for months. I wouldn't even like. It would probably be rough to even appear at the funeral. I would just lock myself away for months. Not gonna lie.
Walk into Korean funerals, and before even saying anything, giving condolences, they will ask first, who is the chief mourner? You're getting all of this exhaustion and emotions thrown at you. And Haeyoung's older sister, Mimi, again, this is a fake name, Mimi is at the funeral. She's not the chief mourner. SJ is, the husband. But she's just distraught because she's like, I saw my younger sister a few hours before she died in bed. It doesn't make sense. If they go by the time of death on the autopsy, which is like maybe 6 a.m, she saw her at like 3 a.m. So it doesn't make any sense. Haeyoung, her husband SJ, they had met up with Haeyoung's older sister Mimi and Mimi's friend. So it's the four of them. They're out at a restaurant drinking until 3 a.m, and she's explaining to everybody, asking questions. She's like, just a few hours earlier, we were having such a good time drinking together. So when I heard the news, I couldn't believe it. Well, did she notice anything weird about Haeyoung the night before? Like, she can't just be happy, healthy, and then suddenly pass away, right? Her sister says, quote, I was sitting right in front of her, face to face. If there had been any sort of injury or anything that seemed like she was sick, I would have asked her about it. She didn't even seem ill. She just said that night.
Again, right? You wouldn't have seen the injury, right? It makes sense because, again, they're right. There was going to an autopsy to happen. I don't know. We don't know if it happened yet, right? She didn't talk about it yet. But it cannot be an outside injury. So I am actually assuming that she was poisoned in some way, shape, or form. Something internally happened. The whole day, people are just coming to you grieving a person that's rough. Yeah, they're essentially like right. Usually, see, in families, that's usually the same thing, kind of, right? Right. This year is like a big tradition, but like families, right? Somebody dies, then usually like people have to. There's always one person that people have to lean on, right? That has to take it all. That's usually the case, right? Like oftentimes, for example, somebody dies, everyone leans on like like the father or the brother or anybody like that, right?
Oh, I'm tired. I'm on my period, but it's really heavy. So my body feels just exhausted and tired. And this is like a really weird period. That's it. Which, again, is not like the most alarming thing. Lots of people will say, oh, I don't know I've said that a million times. I don't know what's going on, but my cramps are like the worst this month. She did look tired, but not abnormally tired. Nothing that would be alarming where Haeyoung's older sister would say, oh, don't, like, go home early. Don't even drink with us. It was just, oh, I'm just a little under the weather.
So at this point, there's no cause of death?
No.
Okay.
And SJ, I guess, is trying to lighten the mood that night and make his wife feel better because he's like, okay, well, everyone, let's eat, let's drink. Interestingly, he's not particularly a big drinker or someone who likes to stay out and get drunk, so it's rather surprising. But they did stay out for 3 rounds of drinks. They don't get back home. So Mimi and her friend actually drop off Haeyoung and SJ. Because Mimi's friend was the DD. She's the designated driver.
Okay.
Haeyoung and her husband, they get home at 3:10 a.m. Haeyoung's sister says, I was too drunk to even remember getting home. My friend was the DD. We dropped off Haeyoung and SJ first, and then around...
Interesting. Okay. Okay, interesting. So, even after saying she wants the divorce, even after she won the divorce, they were sticking together still and playing this perfect relationship. That's interesting, okay.
4 a.m. I know this, because the next day, Haeyoung had sent me a bunch of text messages. So Haeyoung is joking, kind of joking. Okay, it's like very sibling, but she's texting her a picture of Mimi, the older sister, passed out on the street. And with a message, "You're so annoying!" Exclamation, exclamation. Ugh, get some sleep and just get to work safely tomorrow. Still, you're so annoying. It's likely that people asked Mimi about SJ too, who is obviously the chief mourner at the funeral. But how is SJ handling all of this? Well, when I went to my sister...
Oh, so the sister was, well, the chief, well, without a question, and right? Because, like, after the autopsy, they realized, right, he couldn't be the chief mourner, right, at that point, because, well, he was the one doing it.
Sister's apartment, he was just sitting in the living room staring blankly. I kept asking him what happened, and he wasn't in a state to talk. He just kept crying and saying, I don't know. In the midst of the funeral, a group of men walk in, and they take SJ, the chief mourner, to the corner, which is kind of odd. Okay, usually you say your condolences just like where the chief mourner is standing, which is typically right next to...
That was the police, was it not? I'm assuming. People tried to make it work, It's a big decision. I'm gonna be honest, the moment a breakup or a divorce is proposed, the relationship never recovers. That does infinite damage.
To all the flowers and the casket, but they take him to the side. And someone out of the like 5 guys surrounding the chief mourner, someone out of that group reaches into their pocket and takes out handcuffs and handcuffs SJ in front of his wife's family, his friends, his wife's casket. I mean, the minute it registers, everybody jumps up and they're just staring. They're not really sure what to do, because also this is reminiscent of a very famous K-drama, Marry My Husband, where after the wife is deceased, the husband gets arrested at her funeral.
Crazy. Another weird romance drama.
Right. Okay.
Before she's reincarnated. So, I mean, I don't know, but everyone is just, I mean, this is a thing that is said in hindsight by a lot of people.
Right,
so everybody is jumping up, they're staring, they don't really know what to do, but they're panicked. These are detectives. You're being arrested on suspicion of murdering your wife, Haeyoung. The people interviewed at Haeyoung's funeral would say, it felt unreal. It felt disconnected from reality. It almost felt theatrical in a weird way, because SJ instantly, as he's being dragged out of the funeral home, he's screaming, "It's not me! Mother-in-law, like, 어머니, you have to believe me, it's not me!" And then with his hands cuffed behind his back, he does a 90-degree bow to Haeyoung's father. And he's like, I'll be back, it's not me. And then his eyes are wide open, he looks hysterical, he looks bug-eyed, and then Haeyoung's sister, Mimi, and her friends notice the corner of his lips lift up. Like he can't help but smile.
What?
Creepy motherfucker. Okay. Guy gets essentially handcuffed, gets taken by the police, has a crash out, but still smiles. Yeah, that is definitely... Yeah, it's a drover for bro.
There is a website that talks about how to have the perfect marriage, how to satisfy both partners in the union, and it reads, a wife cannot flatly refuse her husband. She may only ask for a rain check, and then she needs to make good on that rain check as quickly as possible. A husband has the right to confront his wife's sexual refusal as a sin, not only against him, but also against God. A husband ought not to feel guilty for having sex with his wife when she is not in the mood, if she yields, even grudgingly. A husband needs to use prayerful discernment to discover if her reasons for, quote, not being in the mood are for legitimate physical or mental health reasons, or if the problem is wrong thinking and wrong attitude on the part of his wife. Listen, I'm not a religious person, nor do I think the blog author of this website is a religious person either. However, with an appropriate amount of common sense, I can easily tell you that if you have to ask God why your wife doesn't want to sleep with you, the problem is within. But because this man knows how to write words...
See, as far as I understand, at least Christian theology, like from the Christian side, you can refuse to have intimacy for legitimate reasons, right? If there is no prolonged desire for intimacy in a relationship, there's something wrong to begin with, right? If your wife doesn't want to sleep with you, there's something wrong. There's something wrong, clearly. Definitely. Maybe not just mentally, physically, whatever, right? There might be some problem in the relationship, right? If your husband refuses you, because that is actually much more common than people think, there's often something wrong with the relationship, right? If he refuses you, there's something wrong. But yeah. that from the Christian side, you can, again, it depends on what religion he is. I can only speak as from the Christian side. You can refuse sex for as far as I'm aware, for legitimate reasons. Really depends, though.
Words and string together somewhat grammatically correct sentences. He wants the world to see and applaud his very mediocre grasp of the English language. He continues, if her reasons are legitimate, then she needs to seek medical or psychological help as soon as possible. Most people think of sexual immorality as only someone having sex outside of marriage. But remember that when something is immoral, that means it is a sin. And we know that sexual denial in marriage is a sin. Therefore, it is accurate to call willful sexual denial in marriage an act of sexual immorality. Intelligence is not a requirement to have access to a working keyboard.
And also, nowhere does it state you can force your partner into it. That's an important factor to know, because people like to use this out of context. Nowhere it says, right? If he refuses you, you have to take the no, right? You have to. You cannot force yourself upon her. You cannot force yourself upon him. However, yeah, technically this is I don't know if it's a sin directly.
To clickety clack. And unfortunately, stupidity is something that some people, like this author, can work towards being the best at, truly excel at. After all, it is a man's prerogative, right? He continues. Biblically speaking, the husband is the spiritual authority in his home, and he has the biblical obligation to first attempt to discipline his wife, as she is his responsibility. Only when he has exhausted all forms of discipline and she remains defiant and divorce is looming should he approach a counselor to act as a witness to her sin. It goes on to say the forms of discipline a husband should use if the wife does not want to have intimate relations with the husband is not to take a shower, to take a self-help class, not to get your own ducks in order because something's probably wrong with you. They say stop taking her on dates or trips. Another step includes, those dinners that you cook or the vacuuming you do? Just like basic chores of someone who lives in a place of shelter and they should be doing. Those things that really she should be doing, but you have simply been trying to be nice and doing for her? Stop doing them. Stop giving her those nice back and shoulder massages she loves so much. And then it says, if she is financially dependent on you, remove all funding for her aside from food and shelter.
Yeah, that is not that is not, somebody has not read the Bible, that's for sure. The author has not had a Bible in hand. That is for most certainly sure. That is nowhere mentioned there. That is nowhere mentioned there.
And if she still doesn't listen, the last few steps are rebuke her before witnesses and bring her before the church. They end it with a good old, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? Well, once you bought the cow, you are supposed to get the milk for free. I fear that this website is not reflective of Christian values or Christian husbands or happy husbands. However, it is reflective of people who do exist in the ether. There are married partners out there who firmly believe that after marriage, they are entitled to sex. There is a whole subreddit that you can go on called r/changemyview. And we've talked about this forum before, but people go there to never change their view. Like nobody ever changes their view on there. They go
Yeah, but it's pretty normal
to get off on the arguments in the comments.
I have to say this. Here's the fun thing. Here's the fun thing. This is Reddit. Why are you surprised? It is Reddit. It is Reddit. It is Reddit. You what do you expect? Sins are immoral, not all immoral things are sins. Correct. Comments.
I don't know why this sub even exists, okay? But it is interesting to read. So I get the appeal. However, views are never changed. And the way that the posts are written, you start thinking, how could you have a separate view aside from this one? That doesn't make sense. One Reddit post reads, change my view. Marriage does not entitle anyone to sex. In the old days, men were legally allowed to R-word women within marriage. It was not considered R-word at all. It goes on to continue and argue that in order for R-word culture to be undone, we are going to have to reconceive marriage utterly in such a way that nobody will ever be under pressure to give up their rights to their body and let their bodies be...
You'd be surprised. About 3% of all men and women are being coerced or forced into sexual relationships. Fun fact, People are like saying, "Oh, rape is it happens just to women." Fun fact: no, no, and it gets even worse when sex is used as a currency.
Taken in marriage, which I don't really think is a hot take. I mean, there were some arguments for like semantic interpretation of the post, but one person, probably a guy, responds, "How far does your view extend? Does it say extend to marriage doesn't guarantee you access to a man's wealth or resources?" I love when people just like have imaginary money that they're hoarding from like potential gold diggers. What are we talking about right now? Just like make-believe stuff? But they go on, or is it just your view that sex is the only place you get a choice? Another person has a less polarizing yet differing viewpoint, writing, "Depends on what you consider entitled to. Everyone is entitled to be in a relationship that meets their emotional and physical needs. This includes sex. If the relationship doesn't meet said needs, whatever they may be, then a person has the right to complain, to discuss it, to work it out, or to leave if the needs cannot be met. So while you are correct that marriage does not give you the right to R-word someone by forcing them to have sex, you are entitled to have your emotional and physical needs for intimacy and sex met by your spouse and to be disgruntled if they're not doing so." Another one responds very weirdly.
I don't think that's necessarily wrong. Yes, you are. Yes, see, it's like if your partner does not care about your emotional and physical needs, right? At all, right? At all. Then you have the right, I think you cannot force yourself upon them, obviously, but you have the right to be upset. Even have the rights to leave, right? Ready for advice is a shithole. I don't think that is what this person said is necessarily bad, right? Right? I don't think that's necessarily bad. I think that is okay, right? Because like, is it really? Do you really have a marriage if like not even your emotion? Right? If we talk about like emotional needs, right? We're talking about like being able to talk to your partner, being able to vent to them, right? Being able to discuss your feelings with them, right? Because that does fall under emotional needs. If that isn't there, right? If your partner doesn't give a shit about you even emotionally, it's like over. Like why you're married. I do think this is absolutely a justification to just leave. You can't force, but you can file a divorce. Yeah, you can leave. You have the right to get upset and leave regardless. Yeah. I do think that this Reddit post isn't wrong, right? Why even a relationship then? It's like that's like not a relationship, right? You're not right. You're married, but there's like you're essentially just cohabitating. That's it. You're roommates at that point. Says sexless marriage is legal ground to file a divorce. I do see that as well, right? I do see that as well. Interesting.
I agree, but I must ask, why the hell would you marry or stay married to someone who doesn't want to have sex with you? Another person writes,
I mean, that's not right. That's not wrong. I don't see the problem, right? Like, I don't see the problem. Of course, you can't get violent. Of course, you can't physically hurt them or emotionally. That's no justification for that. But why would you do that? I feel like, why would you do that? I don't see that. Right? Because, like, remember, not only, right? She's looking at this through a woman lens, right? But there's plenty of men who refuse sex with their wives. That does exist as well, right? If the woman wants to divorce, I see no issue, or leave. I don't know.
I would say sex is basically part of the marital contract. I mean, you're basically just friends or roommates otherwise, which you wouldn't need all the legal complications of marriage for that. So yeah, you are entitled to sex from your partner. With the holiday season behind you, your wallet is probably feeling the strain of all of those festive expenses. Even though you treasure every single memory, it does add up so quickly. And fortunately, Mint Mobile can ease the burden by helping you reduce your phone bill costs this January, offering half-priced, unlimited, premium wireless service. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. I left my old provider a long time ago, and the transfer to Mint it was probably the easiest resolution to knock off the list. I was able to keep my old number. I kept all my contacts. My physical phone was the same, all while saving money. This January, quit overspending on wireless with 50% off. Unlimited premium wireless plans start at $15 a month at mintmobile.com/rotten. That's mintmobile.com.
Nah, I'm broke. And I got a Vodafone. I don't need that one. Get out of here.
/rotten. Limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Over 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com.
Do not do this.
And then you click on like a suggested change my view. A woman who expects her husband to completely devote himself sexually to her, yet refuses to have sex with him, is both selfish and cruel. If a woman refuses to have intimate relations with her husband, the husband then has every moral right to check out women flirt.
No, that's not it. No, 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 wrong, wrong. At that point, if like it's that important, right, and you and your wife or husband are just completely refusing to be intimate with you, right? It's just like, just leave, bro. Just leave. Like, if it's that important, just leave, right? Or you figure, or best case scenario, you don't leave and you figure out what the fuck's wrong. See, none of this was mentioned yet. You figure out what the fuck's wrong. Anyways.
View videos, and even in certain cases, cheat. A woman has every right to refuse sex if she doesn't want it, but freedom to choose also means a prohibition on a man from having any sexual outlet whatsoever is very wrong. Cheating is a violation of exclusive sexual intimacy, but in a sexless marriage, there is no sexual intimacy had. I will say that aside from people having medical conditions or some sort of psychological reasoning of not wanting to be intimate with their partner, typically your partner not wanting to be intimate with you is usually something wrong with you, if that makes sense. Like these husbands, I would say that this is not the majority of married.
Harsh. Not necessarily, right? Not necessarily. Something can be wrong with them. Absolutely. 100%. I wouldn't say usually, right? Something can be wrong with them as well, right? Right? They might something, right? They might maybe feel awkward about something, or maybe it can happen that maybe, for example, I know somebody who stopped having sex with his girlfriend because he felt like he wasn't attractive enough anymore. Right? That sometimes it has an internal reason. Sometimes it can have an internal reason. You know, people grow old, their libido goes down. We're not talking about 7 or 80-year-old Sarah who is dustier down there than the fucking Sahara Desert. We're talking about healthy 30-year-olds here. Right? That's not it. That's not it. We're talking about healthy people with still the ability to smash, right? We're not talking about Uncle Sam no longer getting it up. And then we're not talking about Granny and Grandpa here.
Couples or reflective of husbands or anything like that. It's just such an odd thing. It's weird. But there are people that are very serious about it. Not even just on r/change my view. There are people that will write things on Reddit like, if you get married, you are essentially signing away your sexual consent in exchange for financial and emotional and relationship stability. If neither party is ready to give up on their autonomy, then they shouldn't get married, because breaking those technically voids the marriage contract. Saying no to a husband simply isn't an option unless you're physically incapable, which might be the case after an argument or if you're sick or whatever. With a boyfriend, all bets are off. You didn't say any vows. Do what you want. Remember when, honey, I have a headache, used to be something people joked about? That was back when the marriage commitment was taken more seriously, and that was only 10-ish years ago. Nowadays, you don't even need an excuse to turn your husband down, and it's disgusting that this has become acceptable in society after people have made marriage vows stating the opposite. The more alarming part is there are a lot of women who agree with this viewpoint, and there's a Reddit thread where one woman writes, I told my friends I'd never say no to intimate relations except for serious illness or injury, which my husband wouldn't ask for intimate relations if that were actually painful or dangerous. But there are times when I'm tired and technically not in the mood, sure, but I would never say no. My friends...
Well, I don't think... Well, if she consents to it, like, I don't see how that is bad. What I do want is, however, that if the husband is tired and not in the mood, right? The problem is not, right? See, the problem is not that this is a thing, right? The problem is that it's usually not mutual, right? The wife is always be ready to have sex, even if she's not in the mood, and the guy, when he's tired, that's not the case, right? I think that is very much a problem, right? I think that is very much a problem, right? If you're not in the mood, you still want to do it. I mean, go ahead, right? You're an adult. You're a consenting adult. Like, go ahead. I don't see the problem, right? But I feel like your husband also has to be in the same boat. That means that if he's tired, if he's not in a mood, and you want to have some action, you should be getting some action.
Felt like that was horrible and degrading. I think a lot of couples are in the never say no camp, not because they're not allowed to say no, but just because like people have good times with their partners, and usually your partner will know when to initiate, and by that point everybody's in the mood, everyone's excited, so you don't really end up saying no. But the reasoning that she gives for never saying no, this is her life, it's her dream, but it's interesting. She writes, the way I see it is before marrying my husband, he could have sex with so many women. He made the choice to marry me and just be with me. As a good wife, I want him to feel I'm available to him whenever he wants and needs. Even if I'm tired, I put in effort. If he's in the sauna and the other men are complaining about their sexless marriages, I want him to be able to say, oh, my wife never says no. A fake, imaginary, steamy, hot, sweaty sauna session between a bunch of dudes is like the strangest thing to revolve your life around as a wife, but like here we are. Unfortunately,
Well, she might be into yaoi. Is she about to cry? Looks like one, kinda. But I feel like she's always at the verge of tears for the last half an hour. See, so here's what I believe, right? She's probably into yaoi. That's why she has a steamy sauna session with the boys in her mind.
To be a much bigger sentiment than I thought. SJ falls directly into this group. His friends say, SJ had some unique outlooks on marriage, relationships. He would say to us all the time, if I can't have sex with my wife, where am I supposed to get it? Should I go pay for it? But like, he was drunk, or he would say things like, look, if I want to, she needs to do it. That's what marriage is. But again, he was drunk, so maybe he didn't mean it. 4 months before getting married, Haeyoung and SJ are on their way back from a big group friend vacation in Vietnam. This is August of 2024. They land touchdown at Incheon Airport in South Korea. Haeyoung feels odd. She goes to the restroom, and within minutes, there are ambulances outside of the airport. She is being rushed out. There is blood everywhere. It is so much blood to make any sense, because it doesn't make sense, because
miscarriage, I'm assuming here, right? Because I feel like that was mentioned earlier. But probably miscarriage. So here's what I think, right? Overall, you're gonna have to compromise in some way, shape, or form. One party, because right, two people's libido are not equal. Obviously, women's libido is usually lower, right? Usually, right? There's rare exceptions where a dude just really is not. You see my last chat message? Yes, I did. No, I did not. You mean your mouse that committed ending itself? Okay, yeah, interesting. So here is like, you have to compromise. Either one has to adjust. I feel like you have to find the middle ground where the relationship, like the intimacy part, works in a way where both parties are happy, right? And I feel like the middle ground, right, is probably the best, where like you're gonna have it often enough to where the party with the higher libido doesn't feel neglected. I feel like you have to make adjustments there. I feel like you have to make adjustments. Otherwise you're gonna be in for a painful situation.
she's miscarrying. 6 months into dating Haeyoung, SJ and Haeyoung had gotten pregnant. They actually found out a few days before going to Vietnam. This is like a trip that they had planned for weeks with their friends. But Haeyoung, who has always wanted to start a family, she's so happy about being pregnant. She even immediately asked, so in Korea, you get like the pregnant woman badge, and you can use it at subway stations or like on the train or in public transport.
Wait, there's a literal badge for that? We should have that here. That might be cool. Not gonna lie. Marriage is about adjustment. Yeah. I feel like, but that's a general problem. That's right. Here specifically, the intimacy part plays a big role, but that's a general thing that's like people seem to have a problem with, is which you cannot do things the way that you did them when you were single.
Because a lot of women don't show immediately, or during winter you don't see it. And it's in Korea, it's a big deal. You do not sit in the pregnant woman section if you're not pregnant. So that's why they hand out these badges. Wow. She even got that. She got all these pamphlets about her pregnancy, and she keeps asking her doctor, like, are you sure I'm safe to travel? Just to give you some context, I think she found out a week before, like a few days before she's set to go to Vietnam. The doctor is like, you're gonna be fine. I mean, everybody is different. However, you're gonna be fine. You're cleared for travel. This should not be alarming. You're very early into your pregnancy. You're gonna be okay. It's not even that long of a flight. Haeyoung dots all of her I's, she crosses all of her T's, and then when she touches back in Seoul.
Okay. So we have additional strain on the relationship due to a miscarriage. So we have additional strain onto this. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That I see that. Right. That might have actually been the main reason for maybe to call for divorce. Potentially.
The baby that she had wanted so badly, she ends up miscarrying. But this is the part where it's just like odd. There is a text message from SJ to Haeyoung the day after she miscarries, and it reads, "It's fine as long as you and I are healthy. We can make another baby. I feel so inadequate and foolish. I'm so sorry." Why would he need to apologize? Is he just apologizing because she's going through something so traumatic?
Right.
Haeyoung's friends say, when she was pregnant.
Are you implying that he did something so she lost the baby? Potentially. Is that what is being implied here?
Pregnant. He wanted to do it. They did it once after she found out she was pregnant and there was a little bit of blood, and so she was really worried for the baby. So she...
Oh, okay, he might have been the reason. Yeah, he was the reason. Yeah, I think this is the main contributor to the downfall of the relationship.
She kept refusing to have intimate relations after that. They fought about it, and she told us that she ended up having sex again, even though she didn't want to. And then she ended up miscarrying. Nurses see a lot. That's an understatement. Nurses have probably seen more of me than my own husband, which sounds crazy, but my husband has never pried my mouth open, shoved a flashlight down my throat to see if there's like a foreign body lodged in my throat after a particularly intense meal. Okay, so these nurses, they see a lot, and they see a lot about people's personalities, especially couples. One Reddit thread from a nurse writes, "Husbands in the delivery room often do more harm than good. In my view, the husband in the delivery room often can't provide meaningful support and may even create more stress. Many people frame fathers being in the delivery room as a romantic or heroic act, as if witnessing every moment is required to be a good dad. In reality, the practical benefit to the mother is often minimal. A husband who stays outside, handling logistics, communicating with family members can actually provide more meaningful support." Would you have a lot of people disagreeing? I would also disagree, stating that women are the most safe in medical situations, especially childbirth, when they're relaxed and comfortable and feel supported. However, there are a lot of nurses fighting back saying, yeah, in a perfect world, but most husbands, they're on their phones the entire time while their wife is in labor, or sometimes they're causing more distress, making their wives feel more pressure, or they're not being helpful with other family members that are hounding, giving their 10 cents to the wife about how they should approach childbirth. One woman writes, "My husband went downstairs to charge his phone and call his mom from the car. When I called him an hour later because I was 9 centimeters dilated, he said that he was at Sam's buying Tupperware."
That is such a man-coded thing. That is such a man-coded. That is so man-coded. Can't even be mad. It is so man-coded. Bro, I do things in stressful situations just at random. I get that. Oh, that is so man-coded. She miscarried when after the sex, exactly. I think after a flight, she miscarried. So far as I'm aware, but that is so man-coded.
What?
Tupperware. Another wife writes, "My husband asked if he could borrow one of my pillows because his back hurt and I had too many." The nurses see it all. And for Haeyoung, it's not just a miscarriage, which is already very traumatizing. Haeyoung actually suffers from a very rare condition that only 1 in 30,000 women have, where she has a miscarriage, which a miscarriage is when you have a fertilized egg in the uterus. And the pregnancy is not going to come full term, so you miscarry, right? She also has an ectopic pregnancy at the same time. So Haeyoung's ectopic pregnancy goes unnoticed for a while because this is really rare. So if you don't know, an ectopic pregnancy...
Oh yeah, so the egg doesn't continue on the uterus, right? It gets fertilized here, right? And then stays somewhere here, right? And that usually you need medical attention to help yourself get done with that, because that is super painful and super dangerous. So yeah, it's usually right. There's not much explanation. The kiddo is placed here, which in this case it needs to be removed.
Is when you have a fertilized egg, but it doesn't end in the uterus. It's outside the uterus. A lot of the times it's in the fallopian tube. And this is very dangerous. You can die. You can very easily die if you have an ectopic pregnancy, because that fertilized egg is going to start growing. And a fallopian tube is not like a uterus where it's meant to bear a child. It's not going to stretch. So what it'll do is it'll burst, and then you will be heavily internally bleeding until probably you die unless you get emergency help. It's very dangerous. So she has an ectopic pregnancy outside of the uterus, and she had a miscarriage inside the uterus. So with all of that, a lot of the symptoms of the ectopic pregnancy, she thought that it was from the miscarriage. So it goes for a very long time that she doesn't realize that she has this life-threatening condition, and eventually...
So the original in this case, right? Okay, then it wasn't his fault. Then it wasn't his fault. Okay. We'll take that back. It wasn't his fault.
Once it is realized there has been so
still a piece of shit, but it wasn't his fault.
Much damage done that the doctors tell her that they need to have emergency surgery and remove that fallopian tube.
When was that surgery? Or
this is before the wedding, so this is like a month after, so around September.
There's so much happening. Like they came back from Vietnam, she miscarried, and then the surgery, and then the wedding, and then 3 months later. This is just like
in 6 months. So Hae-young is texting her sister about what's going on. I had surgery with one.
Okay, so this is before they got married. Even this is before.
Fallopian tube removed. There were also 2 uterine cysts when they opened it up, and they were black and about to burst. So in Korea, it's not as common in the United States. I think in the US, I mean, they'll probably charge you $5 billion for it, but a lot of the times, the nurse's duty to feed patients who cannot eat by themselves. In South Korea, unless you're in very specific, like, intensive care units, a lot of the times, it's up to the family members to feed the patient. So the nurses, they will bring all the nutritious hospital meals that have all of the requirements, and they'll make sure that you're eating, and they'll check up on you. But a lot of the times, unless you're in like the ICU, a lot of the nurses depend on the family members to provide care. So family members will do shifts. If you've got work, then someone's doing like a breakfast shift. If someone's doing a lunch shift, someone's doing a dinner shift. It's just a thing that happens in Korea. I don't know if it's embedded in the healthcare system or if it's just like a societal thing that is built into the communities and the families. I don't know, but it's a thing. So every time Hae-young is recovering from the surgery, she's laying there. Every time the nurses bring food, Hae-young doesn't want to eat. She has no appetite. She doesn't want to do this. She's exhausted. And it's up to the family member to airplane that spoon, to beg, to plead, to negotiate that your loved one eat the hospital food. SJ's supposed to be spoon feeding her, but because she doesn't want to eat, he is sitting there eating every single meal that gets delivered. And
bro. Crazy work. Hey, at least it didn't go to waste. But yeah, you're just supposed to. Here comes the plane. yeah. Well, interesting. It's not such a perfect marriage after all, or couple. You're actually seeing it with a female's view, not with an unbiased view. Kinda, a little bit at some points, yeah.
Every single nurse that walks by is judging the shit out of him. Hae-young has no appetite. She feels too weak to eat. And eventually, she's getting annoyed by him. She's sick of seeing his face, and she tells him, you know what, go home and just feed the dogs. He ends up going home. She checks the home camera, and he's not just feeding the dogs. He ordered himself a pizza, plopped on the couch, and is watching TV and munching while she's recovering from this ectopic pregnancy, which he got her pregnant. And he's just at home eating pizza. So understandably...
Well, but it's not his fault, right? It's like not his fault that she got pregnant that way, right? He has no control over what her body does. That kind of... I don't feel like you should put that on the guy in general, right? And like, she sent him home, right? And she refuses to eat. I'm gonna be honest here. There needs to be accountability. There needs to... you can't put that on him. If I try to feed my girlfriend and my girlfriend refuses to eat for hours on end, sure he's a dick for eating it, right? I would have just left it there. Maybe she does want to be spoon-fed, right? Maybe she wants to just be left alone for a little bit, right? It's a miscarriage after all, right? And a bad one at that, right? But she did send him home, and he ordered pizza, because what is he supposed to do at home? Like, what is he supposed to do? I don't see that. That's kind of silly. That's kind of silly.
With all of this like trauma and pain and the emotions, Hae-young tells her friends she just feels really disappointed in him. Like, she just doesn't like this. But worse is that 1 month after this, so this is again still before the marriage, 1 month after, there are text messages between the two where Hae-young is telling him, ever since the pregnancy and the miscarriage, my body has been so weak. Everything changed suddenly. It's been hard to adjust. I'm just exhausted. He responds, when we're tired, we should support and lean on each other. Yeah, what you're saying is right, but you only want one form of affection expression, and I only have one body. So he's saying, you and I are both tired, and when couples are tired, we need to depend on each other. And she's like, the only way that you think you can depend on me is for sex, and I can't have sex right now.
That's crazy. So he's asking for sex,
yes.
basically.
1 month after the surgery, she texts him, if we tried it once and it hurts, shouldn't you think that maybe my body hasn't recovered yet? It hasn't even been a month yet. The scar on the outside of my body hasn't healed. How could the wound inside my uterus be healed? SJ responds, well, the doctor said we should return to daily life in a month.
That is crazy.
Which, by the way, that is a suggestion. Doctors are all over the place. Some doctors, I was on Reddit of women who were recovering from similar surgeries. They say their doctor said 2
Well, he's absolutely a dick here. Like, he's absolutely a dick. She hasn't recovered yet. She's probably even meant psychologically, right, mentally not well yet for this. I feel like for something that big of a deal, I'm gonna be honest, she should have never even gotten together with. She should have never even married him. I feel like, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like the red flag was already visible before the marriage, right? It's a clear that is a clear red flag. They're sexually not compatible, simply put.
Weeks, you can return to normal life. Some people said a month, 6 weeks, and these are guidelines. Usually, the rule of thumb is when you want to return to normal life, especially when it comes to sex, because it's not like, oh, my arm broke, I can't have sex for a month. It's like you're talking about the exact same body parts. Hae-young feels like this is happening because of an act we did together, but alone I have to suffer, and yet my body is still an object of desire for you. Like, it doesn't make sense. She's texting her friends in frustration. After the miscarriage and the fallopian tube removal, it hasn't even been a month, but the doctor said it was okay to have intercourse after a month, so he keeps whining, and we did it, and I didn't say anything, but it just really hurts my feelings. Her friends are upset. Why didn't you say anything? Someone else is responding, God, this must be really hard for you.
I need to hold her responsible here. Sorry, but I'm going to. I know she passed away. I know she died. I know he killed her. But there needs to be some responsibility taken. This relationship should have ended right now. It should have. This relationship should have ended. I don't get it. Okay, she's not stable at all mentally, physically, emotionally. In such situation, a man should take care of the girl. Yeah. Okay, I know where we are. Yeah. Basically, she had a miscarriage, and yeah. Nothing. He doesn't care at all, right? Break the you're not married yet! They're not even married yet. She can still leave. I have to hold her accountable here. I'm sorry, but she is not some innocent woman needing to be what's the word? Needing to be coddled. The truth is, you picked a shitty man. She still had the chance to get rid of him, and she didn't. Instead, she rather portrayed the loving wife. Whatever we're doing, man. Whatever we're doing. Like, if I was a husband being mistreated by a boyfriend being mistreated by his girl, I'd leave. No matter what you do, I'd leave.
Hae-young texts SJ, stop whining. And like this, I will say okay, usually there are different Korean words. Sometimes there's not like the exact word that you can use in English. When you have someone who is complaining, like a husband who is complaining, it's a very different vibe. But the word she uses is like 찡찡. 찡찡거려. It's like very much like like when kids are like 찡찡, like I want to do this, I want to do like
that was his energy.
That's the word she uses. Otherwise, you could use stop complaining.
A man-child. We're talking about a man-child here. The English term I would use is man-child. That's harsh, but it's the truth. It's the truth. I don't know why she allows herself to be treated like this. I know different culture, different norms, right? Some people just aren't confrontational. Yeah, but then don't complain that you're being mistreated if you're just gonna take it. Then I'm gonna be honest. If you're gonna take it, then don't complain afterwards if something bad happens. I'm gonna be real here. Both of them are complaining in this situation. Like, you are not compatible. Break it off. This is very obvious.
Stop nagging. Like, there's other words you could use, but 찡찡거려ing is very infantile. It's like what kids do.
Yeah.
Like, you really only use it. I would say that my parents treat me like a giant child still, but they still don't tell me don't 찡찡거려 because it's such a specific thing.
Like, yes, stop being a baby.
Yeah, it's very like, it's not just whining. It's like very,
Yeah, that's so weird.
it's like that rhythmic tantrum usually. Because 찡찡, it's almost like an onomatopoeia. It's like a sound. And he responds, if I don't initiate skinship first, we never have skinship. Skinship, by the way, is like the Korean term for touch and sexual activities. They call it skinship. I'm just asking you to love me as much as I love you, or even just a little. There's a famous Pilates studio in South Korea called Diana Pilates. It's a 6,000 square foot. It uses...
Truth is, they're not compatible. They're sexually... His libido is way higher than hers is. Way higher. They're not compatible, and that is what where this whole drama starts, with them not being sexually compatible.
Is the entire 9th floor of a glass down building. I mean, you see the whole view of the other buildings, the mountains in the back. It's beautiful. A lot of good K-dramas were filmed inside of this studio. I feel like it was really popular during the Pilates hype during COVID. And then they started doing some reinvention. Once the reformer Pilates started slowing down, they went into flying Pilates, which is when you put on the bungee cord and you just...
Oh, yeah, the
That looks... I'm gonna be honest, that looks kind of silly. But okay.
one that you hop around?
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I don't know. I think it was really popular in Korea. I think that it's probably not a tried and true tested form of working out. In the sense of, I'm sure you get a lot of results, but it becomes like a thing where people don't know about it or they have to find out about it. It almost feels like a trend. You know how there's always trends for workouts?
Yeah.
So they switched to this, a lot of the flying Pilates, and eventually the membership does take a dive with Diana Pilates. And then this definitely makes it worse. There's a new notice on the front door that reads, following the traffic accident, the director, SJ. His spouse has passed away, and SJ remains in critical condition in the ICU. The current owner of the building, who knows of the director's sincerity, has arranged it so that the members can continue using the facilities without any inconvenience or charge. Members may rest assured and continue using the premises as usual. We will continue to repay you with a better environment and service. We ask for your attention and your support.
Wait, is he the owner or he's the...
Yes, SJ is
Wait, he had an accident? Is he also going to die? That'd be kind of justice.
the owner of this Pilates branch.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this notice goes up after Haeyoung dies, but there was no car accident.
Right.
Haeyoung did not die in a car accident. SJ is not in the ICU. In fact...
Oh, they lied. Oh, so they want to make it seem like it was a car accident in which she died, and he is in critical condition. Oh, what the fuck? Interesting.
He's getting arrested as the main suspect for Haeyoung's murder.
Oh, so they're trying to hide it. Hide the fact. I see.
SJ is defensive. He's asking the officer, what are you saying? That I did this? We didn't say that. But was Haeyoung sick? And these are direct quotes. Why are you asking me? What did I do wrong? SJ tells the police, I have no idea what happened that night. He explains they came home after drinking, and even with drinking, Haeyoung has really intense insomnia. So the typical routine is that he sleeps outside on the couch until she can fall asleep inside the bedroom, and then he'll quietly go into the bedroom and sleep. She has trouble falling asleep, but once she's asleep, she's not a light sleeper.
I'm really curious what he did again. Nothing from the outside seemed to have been visible, right? Right? Because they did immediately say, yo, we need to do an autopsy, right? That's usually, I don't know if this is usually the case, but like, if something from the outside happened, you would be able to see it. That was not mentioned until now. So I wonder if he actually did just straight up poison her, or put something in her food, or like made her overdose on something. I don't know, something.
He goes into the room a few hours later, And he knows for certain she's knocked out. He's like, which by the way, I'm not like awake for all of this. I fell asleep with the TV on outside in the sofa. I woke up early in the morning to go use the restroom. And that's when I was like, oh, she's definitely asleep. Let me go sleep in the bedroom. I moved back into the bedroom. I laid down next to Haeyoung. And then I wake back up to go to work and she's still asleep. So I'm letting her sleep in. He explains that when he gets to work, however, normally Haeyoung will wake up a little bit after that, even if she had been drinking the night before, but she doesn't text. He calls her 4 times around 2 p.m. She doesn't pick up. How are you still asleep till 2 p.m.? He's like, this is weird. He runs home. She's dead on the bed. He calls emergency services, and that's all he knows. He doesn't know anything else. I mean, to some degree, this is all very trackable. There is CCTV footage of him leaving the apartment to go to work at around 10 in the morning. His body language looks nonchalant.
10 a.m. in the morning, he goes to work?
Yeah.
But she was, she has passed since 6.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
And he looks really relaxed. He starts walking in the direction that work is. But when the police ask his employees if he got there as he normally does, they say, well, no, March 13th was weird. He didn't come in. He usually comes into the studio by 11, but he wasn't there. He did text me, though. So
He didn't appear at work, it seems. I wonder why.
one of the Pilates instructors is like, he texted me around like 1:30 asking me about my paycheck. It was just like a normal conversation about the pay stub. That was it. Then he calls his wife 4 times. She doesn't pick up. He rushes home and then calls emergency services. Haeyoung's friends have problems with this because it's very nonsensical. What do you mean? A completely healthy 30-year-old woman who, by the way, she has been very health conscious. She's not the type to notice something wrong with her body and hope for the best. She's getting a checkup. What do you mean she just passes away in her sleep? She didn't drink heavily the night before. And when it's not like she threw up. There's no evidence of throw up. There's no evidence that she was so drunk she couldn't get up and she choked on her vomit, which is a very real concern.
Here's a little fun fact. If you come by this, and you have watched this point, you could right now be at the verge of dying, and you wouldn't know. No matter how healthy you have lived, you could be at the verge of dying, and you wouldn't know, because some artery in your brain just explodes out of nowhere without any prior knowledge or any announcement. Did you know that? That just something in your brain just can go wrong, and then you just and you don't even know it. Next thing you know, you just fucking die. So while it's unusual that somebody dies out of nowhere with no clear sign, doesn't mean it doesn't happen. And you'd never find this out that this could happen. That something in your brain just can go poof, and you just die from internal bleeding. The more you know.
She just passes away peacefully. There's just no way. Looking at the autopsy results, she has a bruise on her upper lip on the left side, a faint, very faint bite on her lower lip. So again, these are all things that she could have self-inflicted, as maybe she's choking or asphyxiating. But one thing you can't explain is this very faint red line around her neck. Are we supposed to—
Oh, brain aneurysm. Exactly. And you don't even know it. Big shit. Big shit. He choked her. Isn't it suspicious though? Now it is. He choked her to death.
to believe that she was wearing a scarf when she went to sleep, or that there was a random string on the bed that she laid in, rolled over, somehow tied it around her neck to asphyxiate on by herself. It doesn't make sense. One of the neighbors in the building, the one right below Haeyoung and SJ, they say that night they did hear something weird. So much so that they even reached out to Haeyoung the next day to make sure everything was okay. What did you hear? We're light sleepers, pretty sensitive. So we normally actually just block out normal life sounds. So if we hear someone thumping or it sounds like someone dropped their phone or stomping, you kind of learn to disregard it living in an apartment. But that night, it was a strange and unfamiliar sound. It felt like something dragging, like heavy, like if you were to drag furniture, but it doesn't make like you know how furniture legs will make like the squeaky sounds?
Yeah.
It's not that, it's like if you were to drag a mattress. It's like fabric or like just something heavy and soft.
What?
And then we heard this really weird flapping sound. It was kind of like 파다거리는 소리, like 파다거리는 like a bird. Okay.
I'm assuming that was her legs. There's always a reason though, isn't there? For that. Yeah, but if that happens, usually it happens completely unannounced. When that happens, as far as I'm aware. That flapping sound, I'm assuming, was her legs. Because, right, you're gonna try and move and get out of in some way, shape, or form if somebody does that. And the only thing that can reasonably flap is not the arms. It's the legs.
The word is like the bird wings trying to flap, but you're holding onto the bird. That's kind of the feeling. It's like a flapping noise. It's not like a thumping noise. It's like a flapping noise. It's like a very specific noise. And like that you just don't expect that to hear from a neighbor in the middle of Seoul. And then a strange like, ugh, noise. Like, ugh. Almost as if someone is like breathing out. Like, ugh.
That's really like clear. They can hear it very clearly.
Bro, are the walls in Korea made out of fucking paper? What do you mean you can hear somebody? Well, that was exhaling from relief. And it's probably his.
And it sounded like a woman. It didn't sound like a man. And that lasted maybe about like 30 seconds. They didn't think much of it. They might have thought if it was something else, maybe. But the next morning, they see a bunch of police officers. So they start freaking out. And that's when they text Haeyoung. And they find out that she's gone. Yeah.
The flapping noise, how long did you say it lasted?
That they don't know. Okay, but they said it lasted a while, like all of this. And then it sounded like choking for like 30 seconds. Yeah.
Or choking. One or the two.
Okay. This is where it gets weird. There are home cameras inside the house, which is typically odd. People don't really like to have home cameras inside, especially with a lot of recent developments. So this was earlier in 2025, but recent developments of a lot of South Korean home cameras getting hacked for intimate websites, like illegal websites. But Haeyoung had these 2 dogs, and they were 15. She's had them for 15 years. So she just wanted to make sure they're okay when she's out at work. Her family is like, we gotta look at the house cameras. If we don't know what happened in the house, just look at the house cameras. They get Haeyoung's phone, not only...
They were probably turned off, I'm assuming, why there are cases, people commit Sudoku and frame someone else. Yeah, I don't think that is the case here. They lied, those people lied, I don't know, we'll see.
Is the footage gone? The app for the house camera is gone. It's like if someone has a Ring camera, you get their phone and the Ring app has been deleted.
Wow.
What do you mean? So eventually, SJ changes his story because none of this is adding up. The asphyxiation, the way that she died, the evidence, there's no evidence that an intruder had entered the home cameras had been deleted. He is the only one that could have done something. He changes his story and he says, fine, I killed my wife, but it was an accident. He says that they had gotten into a drunk fight and all he did was push her because she was trying to get physical, and that led to her hitting her head and passing away. The injuries don't line up with that story.
Yeah, that doesn't work. That doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. Because there was no head injury.
She doesn't have any lacerations on the back of her head. How do you explain the marking around her neck? How do you explain the fact that her cause of death was manual asphyxiation? And what's crazy is he starts blaming Haeyoung. He says that she was looking down on his family. So he actually got upset, not because he is a volatile, violent man, but because he had to defend his family. This is like family honor. He had to stand up for them. SJ will later try to claim that he had read messages on Haeyoung's phone where she is talking to her girlfriends about his disabled mother. And that because of his disabled mother, Haeyoung did not want to have kids with him because she was concerned this is a condition that could be passed down to their child. Authorities go through their chat logs. This is what they find. Haeyoung texts her friend. So he's saying she's like a filthy person. She's evil. She was shit-talking my disabled mother. She texts her friends. My mother-in-law can hardly speak or walk. When I go there, I just end up sitting with her for a while before coming back. But SJ says he's happy that I talk to her and I make her smile. Then later in the group chat, Haeyoung texts her friends, why did I marry this piece of shit? So it's like no one really responds. And then she texts this.
Yeah.
He's trying to argue it's because of his disabled mother. She's texting that. But just listen to the rest of the messages. Why? What happened? I'm not getting pregnant by this motherfucker. I'm not going to have his baby. Huh? Actually, I would rather get pregnant and not have to have sex with him for a whole year. He actually argued with me saying, you promised twice a week. Why aren't you keeping your word? Wait, but it's not like you guys aren't doing it. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's not like I refused for a whole month or anything. We did it. And then the next day, the shithead just keeps starting again. He
just wants it every single day. Which I could probably understand, right? Every single day is just too much. I feel like. Maybe if you're like a really young couple, I get probably both wanting to do like every single day, up and down, back and forth, vertically, diagonally, at the ceiling, at the floor. I get that, but I would understand that. But like, they've been together for a while now. We didn't get anything information from the autopsy.
completely obsessed with sex. I feel like he's lost his mind. Why did you even marry him then? Another friend chimes in. I mean, you must have married him because there was something good about him, right? I thought he would be a good husband. I didn't know he was sex obsessed. Clearly, she still wants to have children with him, though, because later she writes, the doctor said it would be better to remove my other fallopian tube too, but they told me that they could go ahead in the surgery and get rid of both, but I told them I would discuss it with my husband first and then get discharged. Either way, I think I'm gonna try IVF. But as the police go further down into their text logs, they find more messages from Haeyoung to SJ because, I mean, none of these motives make any sense. It's clear that he did not accidentally kill her in a drunken fight, which, not that that would absolve anything, but it just doesn't make any sense. Haeyoung's messages to SJ read, but we always end up fighting because of physical contact. He responds, I want to be close to you because I love you. If two people love each other and feel good together, isn't it natural to have sex? I don't want to right now. If this keeps happening, we really can't keep seeing each other. Okay, I won't push you anymore. Then right before they get married, SJ texts Haeyoung, why do it if I'm the only one who enjoys it? It should be something that we both want. Fine, from now on, we're not gonna fight about sex anymore. Haeyoung is upset by this. She's like, we already had this conversation before about the same exact thing. Then another from SJ to Haeyoung. Don't say that you want to break up. There's nothing wrong between us. Haeyoung is agitated. You know, this is the first time I've ever told you that I want to break up, right? It's because I don't respond to your physical affection the way you want, and I can't match the level of affection that you expect. Let's just stop here. Honestly, it would be better for you to meet someone who fits your needs because I can't do it anymore.
And she would have been right. And she'd probably still be alive if she ended things here. That is the sad part. She is so close to getting it. She's like so close. She's like inches away from understanding the core issue. And that is that they're sexually not compatible at all. Right? He's a freak. He needs a freak. And she's not a freak. She's so close to getting it.
The police investigate and they find that in the toxicology reports, there were sleeping drugs in Haeyoung's system when she died.
I knew it! I knew it! I knew that he drugged her. I knew it. What a piece of shit.
She would never take these drugs, these sleeping medications after drinking. She was really big on that. She thought that any sort of medication mixed with alcohol was like a surefire way to die. She would tell her sister, like, if you drink and take anything, like any sort of medication, you will die. The prosecutors believe that SJ approached Haeyoung in the morning, asked for intimate relations. She is having a very heavy period, so it's kind of complicated in the sense of she was not actively miscarrying when she passes away, but it seems like there are lots of complications that were occurring after the miscarriage, after the ectopic pregnancy, after the surgery. And this period, it wasn't just like I'm just having a rough menstrual cycle this month. It seems like this is the after effects of everything that's happened. She's having really heavy bleeding. She's feeling unwell. He approaches her in the morning, asks for intimate relations. She denies it. And then he decides that he is going to impulsively kill her. That's how he describes it. But that impulsion lasts 12 hours later. So that's in the morning. She denies having intimate relations.
Oh, that's after the night out.
No.
Oh, wait.
So earlier
I think even without the period, she would have still denied her and he would have still taken her out.
before the night out, he asks for intimate relations.
Yeah.
She says no.
Yeah.
So then they go out, they have a good time, and then he's very upset. He ends up killing her that night.
She come back, fell asleep. Oh, that night.
Yeah.
This is premeditated.
Yeah.
So is that what they...
That's what the police come to, and there is a whole...
I knew that the title was a little bit of little clickbaity. This man has no chill, none. Like I said, bro was not thinking with his D. He was absolutely possessed by it. Is deportation to North Korea an option, right? In some kind of like slave labor camp?
Like a behavioral psychologist that works for the police, they stated, I don't think this is a matter of sexual desire. So a lot of people are saying, okay, is this like a sex addict that is mixed with someone who has murderous tendencies? Not that we're finding excuses, but we're just trying to understand the concept of this, because how does a husband murder his wife because she doesn't want to have intimate relations? Usually you hear of husbands who are having affairs. You hear of husbands for A, B, C, and D, E reasons. This feels a little out of the norm. The behavioral psychologist says, I don't think this was a matter of sexual desire. If it's just really high sexual desire, he could have been sexually obsessed with other women as well. But that doesn't seem to be the case. This seems to be about control.
Always.
Yeah, they found other messages where he would text Hae-young like, don't ever think about cheating on me because I will track you down and I will kill you. Now, I know a lot of people love to victim blame and they're going to be like, oh, well, she should have left and not gotten married if he threatened to kill her. But I will also say that even in English, I think that there's miscommunication of like, I'll kill you. Like, I'll kill you if you do something. Like, I guess some people could think it as cute, but in Korean, it's even more so because, like the term,
Is it like 죽을래?
yeah, or like,
You wanna
oh,
die?
죽여버려. It's like people say that a lot.
The thing is, I'm gonna say this. We hear this oftentimes where like people who were killed didn't leave out of the fear of being killed. Well, you're dead anyways. So like, I'm like, I'd rather die standing than live and die kneeling at that point, right? At this point, like, right? She didn't leave, and he killed her anyways, right? I'd rather die fighting, but that's just me. I wouldn't take this. Nope.
Like if someone is late for something, it's very common for family members to be like, oh, 죽여버려. It's like, I'm gonna kill them. Like, I'm gonna kill them. It's very like, it's very,
Yeah.
So it was probably texted in that format. But I mean, there were some alarming things about him. And again, this is not me saying like, oh, she should have left. He's the problem, clearly. But there is one time where Hae-young's friends said they were in the car driving, and this is in Seoul. They get into a fight. He just stops the car in the middle of the road. There's cars honking behind him. And if you've ever driven in Seoul, if you've taken a taxi in Seoul, I mean, it's like New York City. People don't play.
Yeah.
They're honking and he will not stop. He just stopped and will not stop fighting. The psychiatrist comments, from the perspective of someone like the perpetrator, the victim leaving and becoming another man's wife was unimaginable. So it seems like she had brought up divorce in February. They don't end up getting the divorce, but things are progressing worse and worse. She rejects his advances. He decides
he's gonna kill her. That's pretty much it. You envision your own death. Maria, I am a victim of year-long bullying that got progressively worse and progressively more violent. Yes, I have envisioned my death. Yes, I have fought back instead. It's that simple. He's the problem. Yes, she's also at fault as well. The red flags probably did not pop up like during the marriage or barely before the marriage. The red flags probably were there from the get-go.
it's okay, she's definitely going to leave me then. And then decides with the lack of control, the anger, and his bizarre feelings towards having intimate relations with his wife, he kills his wife. And they write, in other words, if I can't have her, I will destroy her. The case goes to trial. He's sentenced to 25 years in prison because it's Korea. A lot of people think that there could be more to the case in terms of he was alone with his deceased wife's body for hours.
No, don't go there. No necro stuff. Please do not.
Are suspicious of what he could have done. Yeah.
And what are those sounds?
Him choking her. And I don't know where the dragging noise is, though, if she was fighting and then she ended up on the ground and they're dragging in a tussle. I don't know if maybe he choked her somewhere else and then dragged her to the bed. But Hae-young's mom still keeps photos from the wedding day in her house, but she has cut out SJ out of all of them. And
that makes sense.
Hae-young's friends say it's been really hard. And also, this is the thing with SJ, we don't know his name. We don't know what he looks like. Because of the identity protection rules in South Korea. In fact, we weren't really supposed to know who Hae-young is, what she looks like, or anything.
I do not think that violent criminals deserve any way, shape, protection, private protection. I am sorry. But yes, post his face and name everywhere. Make it public. I don't give a shit. Literally, kick them out fully of society. Don't even give them the chance to reintegrate after they finished their prison sentence. I'm gonna be real. Obliterate this man. And if somebody takes him out afterwards, I don't mind.
About her, but her parents wanted her to be revealed because they said, you will never understand what was taken from us if you don't see like the beauty in our girl, if you don't know who she is.
That's so rare.
Yeah, and I think a lot of A lot of Haeyoung's friends see this as a way to...
I think in general, the media should barely even cover the ones who did the crime, and rather the victims. I think the media overall should cover the victims instead, because I feel like those aren't really being covered. I feel like if you cover more the criminals, I feel like you giving others the idea, other deranged motherfuckers, that they may end up on TV if they do something like this and may get attention for it.
Prevent. I think it's different. So I think everywhere, but especially in places like East Asia, marriage is seen as like, you have to get married. It's the next step of your life. And so a lot of people are using this case amongst other cases to be like, hey, you really don't have to get married, because if you marry the wrong person, you could also be dead. Haeyoung's friends say, whenever I'm struggling or I'm frustrated or I'm happy, I want to call Haeyoung and I can't call her. And I think about her every single day of my life. And that is the case that recently went viral.
Okay, now, at least now we're at the point where she's crying. Hi, London, how you doing? Hope you're doing good. At least now we're at the point.
On Instagram, where it was just like a headline of like, husband in South Korea kills wife because she said no to sex during her period. But it's just so, there's so much going on aside from that. What are your thoughts in this case?
Okay, so in my opinion, this is incredibly simple. Bring back the death penalty. Marriage is a step that should not be rushed. Correct. Bring back the death penalty. Thank you. It's that simple. Or maybe handle a deal out with North Korea that you can send your criminals back to them as like slave labor. I feel like I have an interesting idea for like prison thing, which is that you force them into work so that can monetarily compensate the people that they have hurt. But that's just me. That's just the crazy idea I have. Anyways, yeah, this was rough.